Senate Judiciary Committee will come to order.
And wait, hold on.
Okay.
Senator Edwards?
Yes,
Yes, we are here. So the House Courts of Justice Committee will come to order. And Shannon, if we could have our first candidate.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee, we have Judge Timothy Allen for the 22nd Judicial Circuit.
Thank you. Do we need to call the roll? We have enough people here. Okay. Judge, go ahead.
Welcome.
Delegate Herring, you want to lead it off?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Senator. Judge Allen, welcome. If you could tell us why you are here with us today and a little bit about your experience.
All right. Thank you, Delegate Herring. I'm hopefully going to give you a brief synopsis. I was in private practice for about 11 years before I was taken up with the good Commonwealth attorney, Mr. Hapgood, and he took me under his wing as an assistant for several years and eventually became the Commonwealth for approximately 12 years altogether. And then after that, I've had the opportunity, and the folks have been very kind to me down at the General Assembly and offered me the position in the juvenile court, and I've been able to sit on the bench for 6 years for Franklin County and the 22nd District. I appreciate the opportunity to do that. You all have been very nice to me and given me those opportunities, and hopefully I've been able to serve you with my experiences in the past, and hopefully can bring that to the position of circuit court if given the opportunity. I can only promise you that I would work hard and do the best that I could, and that's all I can promise you at this point in time. But I'll certainly work hard if given the opportunity, and hopefully make a good judge in circuit court. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Does any member have a question for the judge?
I have a question or two.
Yes, Senator Edwards.
Yeah, okay. Judge, nice to see you.
Good to see you too, Mr. Edwards.
Yeah, and so why would you like to move up from the Juvenile and Domestic Relations District Court, where you've done a wonderful job, I understand, to become circuit court judge?
Well, I'm hoping that I'll be able to bring some of that experience from the juvenile court up to the circuit court, and also be able to serve the citizens here in Franklin County and Pittsylvania County, and expand a little bit about what I do. I had a pretty varied practice. I enjoyed doing my real estate and some personal injury cases and guardianships. And I worked, as you probably remember, when I started out, I worked with Willard Finney, and I had a chance to do some work with the Commissioner of Accounts part that he was Commissioner of Accounts. So I'm hoping to be able to help out the citizens and do a good job in circuit court. I certainly would like the opportunity to do that if given the opportunity by you guys.
Yeah, Willard Finney was a good friend, wonderful guy. Tell me about your experience as Commonwealth Attorney, how that fits into becoming a judge.
Well, with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, I again had a great mentor with Mr. Hapgood, and I was able to start out. When I started in his office, I was primarily in some of the lower courts in General District and Juvenile and Domestic Relations, but after a brief period down there, I was able to move up and help him do a lot of the major cases that we had, and I've done everything from a traffic ticket up to capital murder. So I'm fairly well versed in the Commonwealth's activities in circuit court. We did a lot of forfeitures during the time when they were being done by a lot of the Commonwealths. We did a lot of that, and a lot of drug prosecutions, and just had a wide variety of experiences with Mr. Hapgood and as a Commonwealth when I was elected.
Good. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Senator Morsi.
I'm chairing this part of it. So Senator Serville.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have a question for the judge. Judge, my grandparents met at a square dance near Hardy, which is where my family's from, and I was just curious if you had an opinion about the Booth and the Simmons families.
I can't necessarily say that that I may be acquainted with any of your relatives, but one of my really good friends is a Booth. His father was an Endicott Booth, and he was kind of a rough customer, but those guys are just salt of the earth. So and he's a wonderful guy. He's in my Sunday school class. So
Any other member have a question? All right, hearing none and seeing no hands raised. Thank you, Judge.
okay.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation to interview.
Thank you. And Ms. Hurd, who is our next candidate?
Yes, Madam Leader, we have Robert Brian Haskins in the room. He's interviewing for a vacancy in the Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court for the 22nd District.
Thank you. Mr. Haskins?
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good, thank you so much. Tell us why you want to be on the JDR court.
I'm ready to serve. I have been a Commonwealth attorney for a number of years now. I've been a defense attorney. I've been administrative justice essentially from both sides of the courtroom, and I feel that I'm ready to serve.
Thank you. Does any member have a question for Mr. Haskins?
The judge, yeah, I have a question. Yeah.
Judge,
Judge
Senator Edwards.
I assume you'd be serving in the Pittsylvania County area, or would you be wanting to serve in which location would you prefer to be in?
Madam Chair, Senator Edwards, I would be serving as a roving judge amongst the entire circuit, which comprises Franklin, Pennsylvania, and the city of Danville.
Let's see. Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Delegate Warren.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Haskins. I have a question. I guess and this is for Juvenile Domestic Relations Court, correct?
Yes, sir.
I guess my question would be, if you recall in 2019, the General Assembly considered a bill related to disorderly conduct. And you came and testified at that hearing. And unless I'm misquoting you, you referred to the school to prison pipeline as a myth. And so as a juvenile domestic relations court judge, do you still hold that view? And if not, why? And if so, why?
Okay, Madam Chair, Delegate
Yes.
Bourne, that is an excellent question. I recall being there testifying on behalf of the Virginia Association of Commonwealth Attorneys. And my comments were addressed to the study that the Center for Public Integrity had done, which suggested that Virginia was #1 in the nation in referring students from the court system or to the court system from the school system. And I recalled that our Governor McAuliffe had commissioned a study because he was concerned about that. And the study suggested that that information was misleading and inaccurate. And where we went from that was I made those comments because I did not believe the school to prison pipeline existed in that sense. I believe the statistics show that we were 48th lowest in terms of referring. Now, since that time, I have been made aware from another delegate that there is an issue from that study that was done that shows that there's a disproportionate impact on minorities, on individuals of color being referred. And that does concern me. So to the extent that any student is referred, it is a pipeline for that one student if they get referred. Not every student who gets referred becomes prosecuted, many get diverted. But as a juvenile court judge, my role will be to ensure that anybody who is referred appropriately and not because of the basis of the color of their skin.
Madam Chair, might I follow up?
Yes, Delegate Warren.
So, Mr. Haskins, am I misremembering or misreading when I read news accounts that your quote was the whole issue and it was maybe taken out of context or perhaps not reported correctly, and that you were only referring to the study? Is that that's what you'd like me to take away from your answer?
No, sir. At that time, I did not believe that there was a school to prison pipeline because the study was shown to be flawed and Virginia was 48th in the nation. I did not consider that at the time a pipeline. Now, since that time, Delegate Watts shared with me information that I believe I don't know if you were a part of that group or not that saw that, but Delegate Watts indicated that she was given a presentation from the group that debunked the Center for Public Integrity policy, which found a troubling trend of minorities being referred out of the system. And that has caused me to reflect upon that more.
I thank the gentleman, and just for his own edification, that was my bill, which you were testifying in opposition to. So I remember and know the issue, know the data well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Bourne. Does any other member have a question? All right, I see none or hear none, so thank you, Mr. Haskins.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee for your time.
Thank you. Senator Edwards, I will turn it over to you now.
Okay, thank you. We now have Teresa Deanna Perdue Stone, goes by the name of Deanna, and she says she was born in Roanoke, Virginia, so that's a major plus. Can you tell me why in the world would you ever leave Roanoke? Ms. Stone. I've heard
thank you.
I hear wonderful things about you, by the way.
All right. Thank you, Senator Edwards and members of the Senate Judiciary Committee and House Courts of Justice. Thank you for having me today, and thank you so much for all that you do in the Commonwealth. I was born in Roanoke, but actually my parents lived over here in Franklin County, so that's where I grew up, and it's where I practice law today. I want to be a judge because I've been practicing for 24 years in the Commonwealth, and I've been a substitute judge since 2014. I consider it an honor to be a substitute judge, and this judgeship would allow me to continue serving my community and in that capacity and to use my skill sets. I love working with juveniles and families. I'm very passionate about it. The juvenile court is the court that I want to be in. I find it rewarding personally and professionally to help someone change their life for the better and to make a difference in their life. I know what I'm getting into. I think for juvenile, I've been down there a long time practicing in that court. Juvenile court deals with a lot of emotional issues and delicate matters that are facing families, and I take that very seriously. I want a judge and that follows the law, that listens to the people that come before the court, that is patient and very respectful. And when I'm working with counsel and with my clients, I strive to be that way. And when I'm sitting as a sub-judge, I try to do that. And I try to come up with orders when I'm serving as a sub-judge that actually addresses the needs of the people that are before me. In the 24 years that I've practiced, I've handled all types of cases in the juvenile court. I've represented adults on parents, grandparents, family members on custody visitation, child support, parents on spousal support. I've defended on abuse and neglect cases. I've done termination of parental rights and paternity adoptions. I've represented juveniles on criminal matters and traffic infractions, and I've represented juveniles on abuse and neglect cases, delinquency cases, child in need of services and supervision. I've also been a guardian ad litem since the beginning of my, pretty much early on in my practice, and I've also served as assistant attorney for the Department of Social Services. So I think that gives me a unique perspective on how the juvenile court system works. I know that this job has some challenges. And the things that we see in the juvenile court are not always very pretty and nice. We see a lot of mental health issues, a lot of drug issues. And if you certify me, I would be deeply humbled and honored, and I'd be ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work.
Is most of your practice now juvenile court work?
Yes, sir. I also, most of my practice is civil law. I do a lot of real estate and being around the Smith Mountain Lake area. We have a lot of that, do a lot of wills, corporations, trusts, those kind of things.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any further questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Stone. You can't see me, but I'm watching in Senate Judiciary, and I can see you. How are you doing today?
Good.
Ms. Stone, I've got a question. You've I understand that most of your work is civil practice, but you've done a lot of substitute work in General District Court and J&D Court. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Have you represented juveniles charged? Thank you for that. Have you represented juveniles in General District and Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court who have been remanded to the Department of Juvenile Justice before?
I have.
All right. Here's the scenario. A juvenile is 16 years old. He comes in there with his attorney and the prosecutor, and he enters into a plea agreement for 5 years committed to the Department of Juvenile Justice with regular reviews by the J&D judge. It's a plea bargain signed by defendant, the judge, the prosecutor, the defense attorney, calling for a set sentence of 5 years. After 3 years, a representative from the Department of Juvenile Justice comes into court during the review and recommends that he be released. The prosecutor shows up and says, here's the plea agreement, 5 years. You can't do that, Judge. He must serve 5 years. What's your position? Do you have authority to release him into back home, or does he have to serve the 5 years?
I think under the current statute, you have the authority to release him back home.
Notwithstanding the protestations by the Commonwealth.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Stone.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else have any questions? Well, Judge, good luck to no, Judge-to-be, good luck to you. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about you. I think
Thank you, Senator Edwards.
Thank
you all.
Make a fine judge.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Now, the other candidate we have is not a stranger to the General Assembly. Former Delegate Kenny Melvin, who's currently a judge down in Portsmouth, and he's a candidate for the Judicial Inquiry and Review Commission. Judge, how you doing? Judge Melvin.
I'm fine, Mr. Chairman.
Great
Ladies and gentlemen, good to see you all.
Great to see you again. We miss you up here, but you're doing a great job, I'm hearing, down in Portsmouth. Why in the world would you ever want to be on the Jerk Commission, which is a commission which is, some people say, is not, a lot of people don't really want to be in that position. Why would you want to do it?
I know exactly what you mean. I have been between practicing law and being a judge. That's 40 some years in the field. Been a judge for 12 years now. Have a lot of experience. When I started off as a young lawyer, I worked for the Department of Justice. And as you know, those of you who work for the Department of Justice in DC and Main Justice, we don't try any cases in DC. The U.S. Attorney's Office for DC handles those. So I handled cases all over the country. I was before a lot of judges. When I went into private practice, my practice distilled down to personal injury and criminal law. And I was a courthouse lawyer, meaning that I was in court almost every day before a judge. What I'm telling you is that for the past 43 years or so, I've been before a lot of judges. And I know what goes on with them, and I know what you guys expect of a judge. You expect a judge to be of good temperament and be competent. I don't think that's asking a whole heck of a lot, but sometimes things go wrong. I will tell you that 99% of judges do a fine job and you won't have any problems with them. But that 1%, they have problems. Now, you may not know, I know all the trial lawyers know this, but 80% of all judges, of all lawyers, never go to court. 80%. So those of us who do or who did do that know that judges have different quirks, and I think I can help. I think I can help putting them back on the straight and narrow as best I can, because usually they can be salvaged. But there's one thing I'd like to say. Just about everybody you interview, if they're sitting before you, they can do the job. That is, they have the basic competence to do the job. You know what? I think what we really want, that is, the General Assembly really wants, is to look more into the character of these judges. It's tough to do, but I think it's a thing that you can ask the local delegation to do. Make some inquiries as to the character of these guys. And I tell you, that doesn't change. And with the power that a judge has, often if it's a person's of dubious character, it gets worse.
Thank you, Judge. I noticed that in your resume, you worked for the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division from 1960.
No, civil division.
Civil
Division.
I see, Civil Division, okay. I
Right.
had a case, worked with the Civil Rights Division in 1981 involving the Danville Prison Farm. I don't know if you remember that or not.
I do.
Yeah, first case, it was first civil rights, criminal civil rights case we ever did in Virginia. To my knowledge, the only one. Yeah. So, you remember that?
I have a vague recollection of it. I remember hearing the terms and the talk about it.
Yeah.
Remember, this was a long time ago now.
Yeah, well, yeah. It took us about a year with the grand jury working with the Civil Rights Division to bring that case. But anyway, anybody else have any further questions of?
Senator Edwards,
Yes.
it's Delegate Herring.
Yes, Delegate Herring.
Thank you, Senator. And I must say, Judge, I cannot pass by this opportunity to say thank you, not only for your service as a judge, but my first year, I'm glad I got to serve a little bit of time with you. It was just a few weeks. But, and you were there for me on my first time on the courts committee. And we're so proud of you and for the opportunity for you to be on JERC. The JERC Commission is incredible, and your patience and your direction is still there. It's incredible, and so it's good to see you, and congratulations.
Good to see you, Madam Majority Leader. It's a pleasure seeing you.
Mr. Chairman.
Anybody? Yes, Senator Sherrill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Melvin, it's likewise good to see you. And I just wanted to ask you the same question that we asked the judge who you're taking the place of. You know, one of the things that's always left me, I've always thought the jerk is kind of a black box, and that it's sort of, I never hear about it. I never see them do anything. I never hear about any of their decisions, and I know some of what they do is confidential.
Right.
And
most of what they do.
Yeah, and I was just sort of curious what your thoughts were about that, or if there was anything that you thought you might be able to do if elected that could sort of, I think, raise the level of transparency about the body. Because I've been practicing law for 24 years, and you know, aside from a judge that got convicted of a felony or something, I can't remember of any sort of public discipline involving any judges, and I can't imagine there must have been some circumstances where it should have happened over the last 24 years. And I was just curious what your thoughts were about that.
Well, typically, if the jerk brings charges or finds a founded complaint and it's serious, it gets sent on to the Supreme Court. This matter of having more transparency, that bothers me just a little bit, because what we're trying to do is salvage these careers. These judgeships are the capstones of these folks' career. And if they screw up badly, we know how to retire them, okay? However, if they can be saved, if their career can be salvaged, that is, if we can somehow monitor them, and we do, we send them down with other judges and have a work program for them. If we can do that, I think that's a good thing. But when you bring it to light, that brings the whole judiciary into disrepute. So, it's we have to be. I think we have to be careful in that regard.
Okay. Any further questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, Delegate Heretic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A question and a comment for the candidate, if I might. Judge Melvin, first, we don't give you enough to do around here?
All right, Steve.
Mr. Chairman, let me just say, as a member of the local delegation, that I and my colleagues couldn't be more delighted to see Judge Melvin as a candidate for this position. As everyone here knows, Judge Melvin comes before us not only as just a top-flight trial lawyer and a very distinguished member, having served in the House for 23, 24 years, including leadership on this committee. But since he's been a judge, I can tell you, as an attorney who practices before him with some frequency, he's one of those judges that we all want to have. He is prepared. He knows the case before he walks in. He expects the very, very best of the attorneys practicing before him. And by the way, he makes us better attorneys for that. I couldn't be more proud, Judge, to have you sitting as a candidate today. I know I speak for Delegate Scott as well. And just to mention, Judge Melvin has succeeded in the House by then Delegate Matthew James, and then more recently by Delegate Scott. So he leaves a legacy of qualified leadership behind him, at least in our realm. But as a judge, there certainly doesn't get to be much better. And I'm very proud, Judge, that you're a candidate today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Delegate Heritage.
Anybody else like to have any?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. Who's that? Yeah.
That's Delegate Bourne.
Delegate Bourne, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Judge Melvin, it's good to see you here as a candidate for JERC. I'm certainly excited about being able to support your candidacy. And Delegate Harris took a little bit of what I was going to say and say that Delegate Scott's still trying to fill the big shoes that you left for that seat. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you, because as a young man working in a governor's administration while you were in the legislature, when I was elected to the House, I thought about a handful of folks that I wanted to serve like and be like and approach legislating like, and you were at the top of that list. So Judge Melvin, I appreciate your service, and I thank you for inspiring me to hopefully somewhat serve like you served in the legislature. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Those comments mean a lot to me. Thank you.
Senator Morrissey, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon, Senator Morrissey.
It's good to see you again.
Same here.
Judge, continuing a theme, I came into the General Assembly and was elected in 2007, and it's the first time I've had a chance to tell you personally what an enjoyable experience it was to sit in the House chamber, listen to the way you handled bills, the measured tone that you debated bills. It was a real pleasure. My first question is, you have defended people accused of breaking the law. You have sat in the House of Delegates and made law. You have now sat on the circuit court bench interpreting law. Which is your favorite of those three?
Well, I would say being in the General Assembly in January and February, but not the rest of the year. I loved the legislative session. That was fun for me, almost like a vacation, actually. And served with great people. I loved that.
Final question, Mr. Chair.
Senator Morrissey.
Judge Melvin, it's not so much a question as it's a comment, but it was in January or February of 2008 that I was sitting in the House chamber and I heard the expression Terminator used by a couple of delegates that were talking, and being new to the House of Delegates, you were speaking and I said, what does Terminator mean? Isn't that a movie with Schwarzenegger? And the person said to me, next to me, don't you know that when Delegate Melvin speaks, if he wants to kill a bill, he can do it, and that's why they call him the Terminator, because he would silence bills in their tracks. So I never had a chance to share that vignette with you, and I just want to tell you how nice it is to see you, and how encouraged I am to know that somebody of your caliber is desirous of going on the Judicial Inquiry and Review Commission. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, Watts.
Yeah, Senator, Delegate who? I'm not, who's this?
Delegate Watts, please.
Yeah, Delegate Watts.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't going to start this way, but once I returned from a vacation in the Galapagos, one of those wonderful moments, I had a picture of a killer whale. And from there on, as I flashed that picture on one of Judge Melvin's bills, he was known in at least to many of us as Killer Kenny. As I just observed, in fact, yesterday, in contrasting the House floor with the Senate floor, that I personally don't know anybody on the 100-member House floor who could change minds, change votes, except for then Delegate Melvin. But having said that about how much I valued his service and how much I miss him, I felt, Judge Melvin, Kenny, that your answers today were just out of the park. It's possible that there's someone who is more qualified or as qualified to serve on JERC, but your recognition of the value of the level of the types of service that you have had is just speaks to the core man that I got to know, that you really have that centered focus on what is needed and how you can contribute. And the final thing that I will say is that those who you have mentored along the way, so quietly, usually only known to the person themselves, is that quality in response to the concern brought by Senator Sorvell of what I can only hope that you can do for those judges, as you say, who are redeemable, who can bring a strength to the bench that they have not shown before. And again, just out of the park answers. Excuse me for saying, Kenny, out of the park.
All right. Thank you, Delegate Watts.
Mr. Chair, this is Delegate Scott. I'd be remiss if I didn't say,
Yeah,
and hopefully I have the
Scott.
last, I like to have the last word if I can, because not only do I serve in House District 80, which was Judge Melvin's seat, but I also actually sit in his office space. I probably sit at one of his old desks. So I actually literally get to walk in his footsteps, and he has done a marvelous job of providing giant shoulders for which I can sit upon and learn from. He, as Delegate Watts said, not only does he mentor, I know he mentors judges now, but he mentors young attorneys like me and pulls us to the side sometimes and say, "Hold on, buddy." All right, and sets us straight from time to time in the way that only he can, because he does it with such dignity and respect that you have to take it and you know it's from a good place. So I am confident that he will do a great job serving on the JERC Commission. He is what the judiciary needs, and Senator Sorvell, don't believe me, we may not hear about it, but the judges that have to hear his voice, they will know, and they will make the changes that are necessary. Or if the next time you go in that courtroom, they probably won't be there. So with that, I give my highest recommendation. It's my honor to have Judge Melvin go on the JERC Commission. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Delegate Scott.
Any further questions for anybody? Anybody else have any questions? Okay, that'll wrap it up. Thank you all very much. Good luck, Judge.
All right. Thank you, Senator Edwards. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye now.
Okay.
Bye. The House Courts Committee will meet immediately after we adjourn.
Okay. The Senate Committee will rise.
That was I didn't hear.